it's important to really put yourself first. Everyone says, like, put your love first. When you have a husband, put him first, put the family first. But you know what? If you stay in an unhealthy marriage, again, you're going to be dying and hurting internally. I understand you made vows, but it's not worth your life. So it's important to remember that you as a person are a whole person before you entered this marriage. And that person shouldn't define you. And if you leave, that marriage won't define you. I thought my life would be over at 27 years old when he left. I thought this is the end because I'm so young and no one will ever care about me again and I'll be alone forever. But it's not the case. I was a person first and I'm still a person now.
Hello viewers, and welcome to another exciting episode on Talk with Mo. Often we hear about women who meet men online. They actually do fall in love with them. And in some cases, they leave countries like Canada, like the UK, like America, and they make the trip to Nigeria to meet the person they're falling in love with. Sadly, however, often when those people cross the border, the persons they're falling in love with, be it a woman, be it a man, it happens to any gender. When they cross border and come into Canada, for example, the love turns cold. And then the person who's falling in love realized there might not have been love in the first place. They realized that there has been a scam. They were used as a mule to get out of Nigeria, Ghana, Sierra Leone, whatever country, but they have been used. And that is the case with my guest today. Beautiful, lovely Colleen Santos. I'll allow her to introduce herself. Hello, Colleen. I know that your name is Colleen Santos Amalu. That is your correct name, correct?
Legally, yes, that's my married last name.
Welcome to Talk with Mo.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
You're beautiful.
Thank you so much.
And I recently, was sent one of the videos you made on TikTok.
Oh, okay.
Yes, and that was how I got to know you. And the video was essentially chronicling what you had experienced in Nigeria.
Yeah.
And you are even a very popular figure in Nigeria because you were quite involved with the NSAS movement, speaking out because you felt at home. You felt this was a new home for you.
I thought it was going to be, yeah.
Take us back to how you met this individual.
So he originally reached out to me through social media. I think it was Facebook back in the fall of 2016 or so. And we had mutual friends who attended school with me here in Canada, who basically verified like he was a good person and so on and so forth. And we basically built a friendship for about 3 years online before I traveled to meet him the very first time in 2019 when I originally got married.
So you traveled from Canada to Nigeria.
Yeah, all by myself.
To meet with him, all by yourself.
All by myself.
We're going to get to that part. But you said you met online.
Yeah.
But then there were mutual friends.
Yeah, we had mutual friends that went to college with me here.
Okay.
That said that they knew him from university and they had been friends and he was a good person. And
he was a good person.
Yeah, and he's someone I could always speak to and so forth, that I had nothing to worry about, essentially.
Okay.
Yeah.
I asked that question because people will be wondering, well, you met him online. Why would you have taken the bait or whatever to go to Nigeria? So it was this added comfort of mutual friends who spoke highly of this individual that made you... Did that in any way help?
It did, yeah, for sure. It gave you this... it kind of gives you a sense of knowing the person because you know people that actually have physically met them. So it wasn't a complete... I mean, it is a complete stranger, but in a different way.
In a different way.
Yeah, and at the time, I was really young when I first heard from him, I think I was 21, 22.
Mm-hmm.
So I was pretty new to the world, and I had not really traveled to any type of country before. I didn't really even know anything about Nigeria. I had never heard of it.
You had never heard of Nigeria?
So Nigeria, at that point, it was fresh in my mind. Within a year of knowing him, I had just really experienced that culture. So yeah, it was really just that. And I kind of was going through a lot of emotion at that time. And he just was someone that made it seem like I could lean on him. So that trust was really built. And that was how I allowed myself to form a friendship for years and then actually travel to meet him in person.
So you were both friends for 3 years, you said?
3 years, yeah.
What was that like? Was it like daily phone calls, emailing, text messages?
Yeah.
WhatsApp? What was that like?
So we spoke on all platforms of social media. It was basically just a shoulder to like lie on. When I felt like sad or lonely or overwhelmed, I always kind of went to him. He was like that, what would I even call it? Like a teddy bear almost. And yeah, he kind of just lent a listening ear, a helping hand, and always encouraged me. Like he was very, on paper, sounded like perfect, essentially. Yeah. So
on
that
paper.
was, yeah.
Sounded like perfect. That is deep.
That is it. That perfection really, once you fall for it, it's very hard to unfall for it.
So, was there a formal asking out during these 3 years? Was there like, be my girlfriend, I want to go out with you? Was there any kind of talk?
Over those years, it was not really be my girlfriend. It was more, I wished we lived in the same place so we could be together, but as God has it, we didn't live in the same place. So it was more, he hopes one day, or I would hope one day that would happen. But we both had separate relationships within that time frame. And we would basically go to each other to speak about, oh, like this is happening in my relationship, like, you know, like advice type of thing. And at a point, I kind of, what I say, reached rock bottom when I was so very sad. At a point in my life, I was like 24. I felt like my life wasn't going in where I wanted it to go. I really wanted to build a family. And he basically promised me like the moon and stars. And he was like, if you could just get here, I would give you everything it is that basically your heart desires. Like I would treat you like the queen that you are. And we would be so happy. You know, we've been friends for so long. And I just was like, yeah, you know what? Like I didn't find anyone here that was giving me that. Like, why not? So I just took the plunge and booked my trip. Yeah.
You believed this guy, and so you booked your trip at that point.
I booked my trip. Yeah. He told me like that was what's gonna happen, right? So I went there with the idea that we were gonna start. So I knew like the idea of marriage was there. He officially proposed in person when I was there, but I already knew that was what was gonna happen. So
now, when you moved from here, going to Nigeria for the first time, was there any part of you that was fearful? Was there any part of you that questioned if this was real, or if it didn't work out, what was I going to do? Did any of those considerations come into play?
A lot of those did. Yeah, I have a lot of friends that are Nigerian who basically try to steer me opposite direction. A lot of people did warn me. But the type of person I am, I don't like to feel like because this person is from there that they know, or because he looks a certain way that he is a bad person. So I tried to keep it as I need to find out for myself.
For yourself.
But I did have a lot of friends who are like, Colleen, please don't go. This is how he is. Please don't listen. He just wants to come, travel abroad. But like I said, once you're locked in, you're locked in. And then, of course, it's a different continent, a different country, different culture. It's very different than Canada. Whereas I was born here. I'm like fully Canadian. So all of those things were very worrisome. And then traveling alone, especially as young as I was, traveling alone and meeting all his friends and all his family, and I'm solo, like I'm all by myself. So I knew whatever happened, I only have him to lean on and his family to lean on, which can put me at a lot of risk if something was to turn sour, right? I don't have anyone to defend me or to comfort me. That's solely there for me. I only had people that were his side. His side.
Did you have any friend in Nigeria to say, okay, if it's not working out, I can find somewhere else to go to?
Yeah, I had family of my friends here that I could have went to if anything was to happen. Yeah. But you know, the thing is that once you feel like things are kind of going rocky and you let other people know, they'll kind of pull you out and you're already locked in where you're like, I want to make sure that this works. I hope that it's going to work. So you don't want to turn that, because once you do that, there's no going back, right? So I have some friends that their family treats me like family and they look at me like a daughter. So I knew that once I had done that, they'd been like, Colleen, no, he's not good for you. Like, let it go.
Let it go.
Yeah.
He was a shoulder to lean on while you were here before you went to Nigeria.
Yeah.
Did you find that to be true when you got to Nigeria?
No, not at all.
Can you tell us exactly what happened?
Yeah. When I got there, the first like week or week and a half was great. And you know, like I was on vacation, so life was good. He was touring me around. I was looking at things, and you know, people kind of looked at me like I was a celebrity, and I'm young, so I'm like, this is so fun, so exciting, and I was seeing so many things that I had never seen in Canada prior. And but then the first incident happened where I found a sex tape on his phone.
A sex tape.
Yeah, from just the week prior to me traveling to Nigeria to meet him. So all those promises of he will give me everything, and he's out there making a sex tape, kind of killed that stable connection that we had.
There was a disconnect.
Yeah.
And did you confront him with this?
Yeah, so I was actually out with him, his friends, and his sister, and we were using his Snapchat to take pictures because my phone was dead and I wanted to document everything. And so I went on the memories to save mine and send to my phone, and that's where I saw his saved video, and I was actually with his sister at the time doing the photos. So when that happened, everyone was trying to like calm me down and say like, let's talk about it, so on and so forth. I actually just ran out of we were at like a hotel poolside type of thing, and I just like ran out, and I tried to look for a ride of where to even go, and I'm like, I don't even know how to get around in this country. I don't know where to go.
Were you afraid at that moment?
No, I was just so sad that I didn't really care where I was going to go. But anyways, they stopped me and told me like I can't just take a taxi or whatever here because it's not safe. So we went back to his house where he was staying with his mom and his sisters. So it wasn't like it was just the two of us. And they basically started like pleading like I should forgive him. And God would encourage me to forgive him. And his mom went on her knees and were like at my feet begging. And I've never seen this because in Canada, who goes on their feet to beg, right? Like it's not a thing that happens here, especially like a mother or father of you know what I mean? So it was just a lot of pressure. And yeah, I was just kind of stuck and I didn't really know where to go.
At that point, were you engaged? Were you...
No, we hadn't officially got engaged at that point, but we had I had the idea and he had the idea we were going to. So it was just a matter of when he was going to do it while I was there.
So you knew it was going to be while you were there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
But we didn't let anyone else know that. But we knew. Because I knew that the only way to be together was if we got married in order for us to even do this traveling of back and forth. So.
And so after all of that, he proposed and you then accepted?
Well, I actually originally said I didn't want to go through with the wedding. I actually said I wanted to go home, that I knew that was already going to be something that I don't think I can get over. And even I know some people do, and I wish them the best, but it's not for everybody to get through that kind of thing. And we hadn't even got married yet, and this was already happening. So I was like, I want to call off the wedding. I can't do this. And then he actually laid in bed holding his heart, like his chest, basically saying that he was going through excruciating pain and saying that he couldn't breathe and he couldn't live without me. And, you know, he was so enthusiastic about the way he was doing it. Like I was feeling scared for him and I forgot that I'm the one who's upset. So it became like that. And basically his mom said that if anything happens to her son, if he gets sick, it's because I'm an unforgiving person. So it was that pressure that was like, you know what, okay, fine, I'll give this a try as long as it doesn't happen again. Like,
so you were emotionally blackmailed into this.
And being surrounded around his family, right? It's not like I have a friend to go and be like, hey, this is what happened, what do I do? And they can support me solely. It was people basically pretending to support me, knowing that their son was going to be gaining, is what it now looks like to me. And what it felt at that point, that pressure.
So was there, okay, when you forgave him and you decided, fine, we can continue this, did the marriage happen during that visit, or
Yes.
did you?
I got proposed to and engaged and married all within the 32 days or so I was there.
Didn't a part of you think, wait, this is fast, I'll rather go back to Canada and come back? Did you evaluate it that way at any point?
Yeah, I did. I thought about it. I guess they say like love is blind.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't really know how to explain how I felt then, but it was just like, if I'm already here and this is what we said, so let's just basically do it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even want to say I really thought that things would be different, but it was all those promises you really want to believe. And like I said, I was going through a tough time here, so I felt like maybe having a family will get better and maybe it'll make some type of happiness inside of me. So I was hoping and trying to be hopeful. So
when you say making a family, were you ready to start having babies with this individual?
I was, yeah.
At the time. Are there any babies?
No, we did not have any kids, no.
Okay. So at what point did it dawn on you that this was a sham? Is the individual in Canada? Did you eventually bring them over to Canada?
Yeah, so he is in Canada. So I left a few days into November. So I traveled October. I left a few days into November. We applied for a visitor visa twice. I think it was twice or maybe 3 times. He was refused all times. They kept saying, well, they don't so much say, but it was based on his age. They didn't see a promise that he would actually return back to his home country. I think it was not enough ties to your home country. I think that's what they phrased it. And so at a point, I think it was December or January, I realized that there was no other option but to sponsor. So I wanted to do a visitor visa to bring him here to see how we would coexist. And then that way it was more, I don't want to say trial, but it would give us an idea. But once I sponsor, I knew that there was a 3-year commitment and you're in charge of a lot of things. And like, I was so young, right? And I had never dealt with immigration in my life. But anyway, so we took the plunge and did the sponsorship. I did it all by myself. I didn't hire a lawyer. So I was running around for months, filling out applications, getting support letters from friends and family and printing and filling and whatever. And in that time, I had caught him cheating again. He was basically begging, we call it escort here, but I guess a prostitute. Yeah, he was begging a prostitute to send him like naked videos, naked photos, so on and so forth. I don't know what else was happening, but at that point I was like, he made a sex tape. He's begging a prostitute. Obviously, there's going to be other things. And then I also was able to get into his social media, and I saw linked accounts of fake accounts, fake women and fake men, probably pictures from other places that were linked to him, who he said was like his friends that people used his email. And then when I went back on there, they had all been deleted once I had confronted him. So it was as if like it didn't exist, and he can now play it off like you saw it all in your head. It was imaginary. So that was basically, but yeah, aside from that, he is in Canada.
He's in Canada.
Yeah. A year and a half later, he eventually got approved.
And when he arrived in Canada, was there a relationship between both of you? Did you still like try to make this work? Was there a change? Was there a difference between his behavior back home and here? No. So in that time period, the summer of after I went in 2019 October. I put in the application in March of 2020. That was right, like COVID started at that time. I actually said I wanted to withdraw the sponsorship by the summer of 2020. And I wanted to move to Nigeria to make sure that the marriage was real, because I already felt like this was all paper-based. And he told me that I don't get to decide where we live. And for me, I was like, if we're married and we're married for love, it doesn't matter which country. So if I'm ready to sacrifice to move to Nigeria, so what, right? But he was like, no, who made me in charge? I think I'm, what did he call me? Feminist queen or something, that I should run the show. And if I pull the sponsorship, he would cancel. So Canadians need a visa to go to Nigeria. He would cancel my Nigerian visa, and I wasn't allowed to travel to Nigeria without permission. So, and he actually did cancel my Nigerian visa and not allow me to go. And I never pulled the sponsorship, stupid of me. And one of my Nigerian friends wrote me a visitation letter to go.
And I did go back to Nigeria in October of 2020 and stayed until January 2021.
4 months.
Yeah, like 3 and a bit, yeah.
3 months, yeah.
Yeah.
And what was that visit like? Did you stay with him?
Yeah, I stayed with him. Some of it was good, a lot of fighting, a lot of like, when I say like emotional terrorism type of things. It was hard. It was hard. I mean, being in a new country and a new culture, a new continent, all of that is already hard. I got malaria a few times. I got really sick and was hospitalized. So dealing with all of that, and then, you know, being homesick, and also I was there when NSARS, like, I think I landed the day of NSARS. Most of the
NSARS.
Yeah, most of the flights were canceled. When I was traveling, I was already in the UK, I think, and they had been canceling all the flights. They were sending everyone back to Canada, but I was like adamant that my husband is there. I'm gonna be there too. I don't want him to face this alone. And so, yeah, it was hard.
You were in love with this guy.
Yeah, I was. A lot.
Now, take us to your involvement with NSARS.
that happened not on purpose. Around the time that I did the sponsorship, he had gotten arrested, and now looking at the situation, I don't know if the story he said was accurate or true. He told me that he was just on a bike and they basically pulled him over, and they said because of his hair, he was I think he was called Yahoo Boy. And then they took him to some type of unknown location and they beat him up and all of that. That was what I heard. And me, I'm like, this is my husband. Like, I need to let the government know, like, you can't treat your citizens that way. So I had made a video saying that, you know, they would be hearing from me. And then I woke up in the morning and it was viral. And I don't know how that happened.
And this was while you were in Nigeria?
No, I was in Canada at that time. I made it from here, yeah.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
And so you now decided to go. Was this
Yeah.
You were on your way to Nigeria during the NSARS, right?
No, this was actually in 2020. This was before NSARS.
I see.
Yeah, this was right before when I stood up for police brutality. And then it was a few months later when the NSARS happened.
I see, and you were already
I was already going to Nigeria. So it kind of just happened hand in hand, but yeah.
So you're already a voice for anti-police brutality in Nigeria.
It was around the time that George Floyd.
Yes, of
that
course.
Time period. So it was something that everyone was trying to help out, and I didn't know what else to do. And it was something
of course,
that
your husband had just been
I was
arrested,
very scared for him. Yeah, and when you're in a country that things can happen like that, I mean, if it happens in the Western world, of course it can happen in other countries where the law gets taken into their own hands a lot of the time, and citizens may not be safe. And yeah, I was worried for his safety and his health. And
absolutely. Now, I've got to ask you this. Before you decided to go to Nigeria, he made a promise he was going to treat you like the queen you are.
Yeah.
When you visited Nigeria, was there any kind of queenly treatment that you got from him?
I mean, I would just say now looking at it, it's just like the bare minimum. But I think then I was so in love that I felt like everything was in awe of everything. I mean, he got me flowers and he got me a cake, and, you know, he took me to fancy places and we took pictures and stuff, but it wasn't anything out of the ordinary, because queen treatment or behavior would be how your partner looks out for you and keeps you safe emotionally, mentally, your well-being overall. I wasn't having that. So you can take somebody anywhere and show them fancy things, but if you don't care about their inner parts, then you're not really taking care of them at all, right? So now that I look at it, especially as I'm older now, I'm able to like shake my head, Colleen, like, you should have known better.
Now, you should have known better. Looking at all of that, would you fall for another guy now online, or even if they came face to face to you and people are saying, oh, he's a good guy, would you?
No, I'm so skeptical of people now. I think like 25 times before I even want to hear anything about what they're saying to me. I don't really trust anyone, and I also have something in my heart that says if you didn't come on your own and you don't have your papers here, like, I can't even try, basically. Which is unfortunate because not everyone is like that. And some people are working their way up in their lives, and I appreciate that, but I just can't put myself in a position where that could happen twice. So.
Fool me once, right?
Yeah, well, not twice.
Not twice.
No, so.
Are you currently in a relationship? Do you mind my asking?
No, I'm not in a relationship. No, I think I struggle with that just because I feel like everybody has a second personality now. Because if someone can seem so perfect and turn out so bad and sour, I have to be careful.
So in a lot of ways, this one single relationship has marred the way you view relationships generally.
Yeah.
So far.
He single-handedly tried to mentally break me. And I did end up in the hospital when he eventually left when he got here. So.
How did he leave? I see you're tearing up. I see that you're emotional. And I'm sorry about
No, it's okay.
that. And but what led to him leaving? Did he just finally got here and he decided, yeah, I'm here in Canada and I'm going to leave you?
So he got here in September of 2021. He had the 2-week quarantine and he stayed 4 weeks after that. So 6 weeks total. And we had got all his documents. We went to get his social insurance. I brought him to get his driver's license. I made his resume. And we were fighting about, he got mad at me for ordering online groceries. I ordered from Walmart, not Instacart, so you can't communicate with the person. So if they don't find what you want, they do a substitute that they think is best according to what you've ordered, the closest thing. And if they don't have anything, they will just say no substitute. So there was no peppers and they said no substitute. I ordered one type of rice. They didn't have it. They substituted it for part-boiled, and he was blaming me for controlling what he's eating and going ahead and agreeing to something without his permission. And so he told me he was leaving, and I had gone to pick up their groceries. I got the messages saying, I'm leaving, I won't be back. I'm leaving the key in so-so location. And then an hour later, I got another message saying, I'm waiting for you to come back to go through my things so you can't say I took anything, essentially. And I stayed out for a few more hours until I got a call from a neighbor that they came to the house. He had called them and all his suitcases were outside, but the door was locked and he was nowhere to be found. So when I got back home, he was hiding in the basement of my house and recording. So as soon as I opened the door, he came up barging with the recorder saying, like, let them know how you've been treating me. Let them know what you're doing. Let them know that you brought me here to enslave me. So it now became I've enslaved him. And then fights. And eventually he said he's not leaving. Even though this man has already packed his bags, he's not leaving until I either kill him or call the police on him. So now, and I was begging. I even called my friend, asked her to come help. I called the neighbor, asked him to come help. I was like, someone needs to help. He was like, no one should come here. He's not leaving. Like, this is what's going to happen. And it was basically like pushing me to call the cops. And I think it was, he wanted me to do that so he had an escape route. And then he can say, like, she did this to me. She forced me out of the house. And that is what happened. He went around telling everyone that I called the police on him. He was out on the street at 10 o'clock at night, nowhere to go. He slept in a motel. My friend called him. My friend across the street, the neighbor, called an Uber for him. He didn't walk anywhere. He didn't sleep outside. But I heard stories of him sleeping in Walmart, that he went to the hospital with pneumonia, that he was walking around with his luggages. He packed all on his own, and they were outside. And then he stayed waiting for me to push him out. But you've already packed. You were already leaving. Do you know what I mean? So it was that manipulation, and I fell for it. I was still apologizing. I'm so sorry for calling the cops. I'm so sorry for kicking you out. And now I'm looking back and I'm like, you packed. I was out of the house and you were leaving. And then you said, no, I'm waiting for you. So you wanted it to be me. And I stupidly fell for it. So it was rough. I even heard stories like he told people that I told the police that he had abused me, that they broke into our house. Like, they pushed down the door, they knocked him to the floor, they handcuffed him, they searched the house for drugs. And I was like, I have the police report. Nothing is stated. No allegations were made, no physical, nothing. It was literally just like, we're having issues and we've been having issues. We're just fighting. So,
Colleen, I know that the video, one of the videos I saw, the TikTok one, was about the police coming to your house because should I call him your husband? This individual had called the police on you for posting. I didn't understand that video.
I don't even understand what happened.
It seems like he was trying to shut you down from even speaking up.
I think that was the aim. I think, so basically I posted a video on TikTok. It was a trend, post a time where you were struggling and nobody noticed. So I posted a video when and I were in a club in Nigeria, and I actually had drank so much from depression that I didn't recognize him when I was drunk. And the hotel people were like concerned for my well-being and asking if I really knew him. They thought he maybe kidnapped me. And I guess he had to prove that I was his wife from like photos and such. But so I posted that saying like, if your inner self is telling you this kind of thing when you're intoxicated, you need to run, basically. And it was a very short clip, and it was just that, right? I didn't put his information or anything. And the next day, the police were banging on my door, letting me know that he had called them concerning that video, that he wants it taken down. He doesn't want it online, and I shouldn't be posting such things. And I was like, but then the police let me know legally they can't tell me to take it down. They can't tell me not to post it because it's my right? But I think it was him, his desire for that dominance, that control, to let me know that he still controls what I do.
So he's left the marriage.
He's left the marriage. He's in a new relationship.
Oh, he was in a new relationship.
He is in a new relationship for the last, I don't know, maybe some few years. Since he left, he had been in a relationship.
And then he wants to control what you post on social media. Yeah.
The same person who crucified me for calling the cops is the same person who now called this. Isn't it the same cops?
For posting.
Just
because you posted about what happened to you.
Yeah, I'm not allowed to speak about it. Just like I wasn't allowed in Nigeria to say to anybody that his mom begged me on her feet. I wasn't allowed to say he did it. I wasn't allowed to speak about anything. Everything was, you're tainting my family. You're tainting my family's name. And it was never, Colleen should speak on whatever happened to her. It's not my story. It was their story.
Their story.
So I think that was his dominance, his trying to let me know, hey, you can't do this without my consent, and I'm not giving consent to you. You're not allowed to speak up on it, which is what made me realize I've been so quiet for so long that I really need to
speak up.
I need to speak up and let people know what really happened, because hiding isn't obviously working. It's been 3 years, and he's still clearly watching my things and so concerned about my life when he's living his life the way he wants in Canada. He's been here for 3 years in Canada, right? So why does my TikTok video bother you? So yeah, the police came to my door for that.
Wow. Now, I know you mentioned his mom while he wasn't. Since the breakdown of this marriage, have you been in touch with his mom? Did anyone contact you?
No,
his sisters?
Everyone basically crucified me. Like, how could you do this to your partner, to our brother, to our son? How could you bring him there and treat him so badly? And how could you put him in danger? You endangered him. And I'm like, the same people who, when I was in their country and were begging me for forgiveness, and it's God's will to be forgiving and to be a forgiving person, a forgiving spirit, how come that forgiveness wasn't passed along to Canada? I don't know.
It stops in Nigeria.
Yeah, I don't know what happened, that in Nigeria it's okay to do things and you have to forgive, and even if you're in danger or whatever. But now you're in Canada, which I would consider a much safer country, if anything, where he knows people here, is now I'm the one who endangered him, and he shouldn't forgive me. And I never heard from them. No one tried to help us to fix the marriage. No one reached out to see how it was doing. It was awful. It was awful. Even when I was in the hospital, no one reached out to me.
So we're talking about, so it's okay for him to call the cops on you on TikTok, and just the abusive relationships Nigerian women go through, and how it's okay.
Yeah, well, because that's the thing, is that the culture has taught us, like in my situation, me calling the cops on a situation where I was scared is bad, because I called it on my marriage, and a marriage is sacred, and no matter what he does, we're supposed to keep it within our home. I should be able to handle it and, control the narrative, and we should work it through no matter what. But when I posted a TikTok video,
it was okay for him to
call the same police. So it's like, how come he was in danger, as he claimed he was in danger by the police, when nothing happened? But me posting a video 3 years later, that's my personal choice about my story, what happened to me, you're calling the cops for that. So it just blows my mind that happened. And it's really unfortunate that a lot of women in cultures like that, like Nigeria, are made to believe that if they leave, it's on them, that it's their responsibility to stay in those marriages. So they might be scared, they might be getting abused, they might be tormented, they might feel unsafe. but unfortunately the community won't back them up. So they're forced to stay, and then a lot of women commit suicide over that. A lot of women they have nowhere to go, and they're like, well, my life is over anyways, what's the point? And that's it's a scary thing. It's it's very like double standard. Because if a man walks out because the woman is doing something, oh, she's not a good wife. She's not providing a good home, right? She's not doing this. She's not standing by her husband. But when a husband is doing it, women are painted black.
Everyone turns against
them.
them.
How could she leave her husband? How could she do this? How can she do that to the children? She should stay for the children. So you should get abused and let your children watch you being abused just because of a marriage? No, and everyone can call me whatever, that I'm influencing you to be single or whatever. That's fine. But that for me, it actually ruins the wife, and it ruins the kids more to stay in that abusive relationship. And it's sad when cultures are still influencing that kind of thing and saying, you have to stay no matter what. You have to bear it. You don't have to. You don't. It's a sad thing.
It is a sad thing. You've just opened a Pandora's box right there. And that is a different topic all on its own, because
it is.
Lots of women are silenced in
by their own families.
By their own families, in their abusive relationships. They are afraid to leave.
They feel like they need to seek validation, and they need to seek for that go ahead. Like they're looking for an approval to leave the situation that they're in. And ultimately, those people are the only ones in their situation. So no matter what advice you get from anywhere else or anyone else, even if it's a similar situation, it's not yours. You can only speak on yours ultimately, and you have to act based on your personal home and what is happening to you. So anyone else saying, well, I stayed and it got better, or I stayed and this happened, or you have to stay because, well, I did it and I suffered through it. You're not other people. You are only you, and you don't need anyone else's approval to save yourself and to save your kids.
True.
I do not believe whatsoever to stay in an abusive relationship for children. So if your marriage is going south, then you go east. You don't stay that way because you have children. No, your children will be okay, and children they will survive without the 2-parent home. You can still co-parent without living and being together. It's very much possible. And children thrive.
Healthier for the children than witnessing abuse every day.
100%, because you're teaching the children that this is okay to be tolerated. So when they get older, especially the girls, they're going to be with people who are like that. Well, my mom was abused and, she managed, so I should just stay too. And no, we shouldn't be teaching our girls that. And we shouldn't be teaching our sons either that the man can be doing that because he's the man of the house. That doesn't make a man of the house. That's just dangerous. A man of the house keeps his family safe, not puts them in danger. It doesn't matter what head you think you're at. No.
Wow. So are you in touch with this person?
No.
And they're still in Canada?
They're still in Canada, yeah. I haven't spoken to them since December of 2022. But I haven't seen them since I was hospitalized. Before I was hospitalized, because they never came to the hospital to see me. So I was hospital in May of 2022. So the last week of April or so would have been the last time I had seen them. So it'll be almost 3 years now. But we haven't been in contact since December, yeah. So it was 2 years in December.
So he went to being a shoulder to lean on, a best friend to this person.
To a monster. Yeah, to a monster. It became like a worst nightmare. Like I've never had such a bad time. Yeah, it was hard.
If he was out there by some fluke and he's listening to this, watching this video, what would you want to say to him?
I hope it was worth it.
I hope it was worth it.
If Canada was so amazing for you to destroy someone internally, I hope it was worth it. So, and I'm sure he has new relationships, so I pray for those girls. I pray for them. I genuinely pray for them, because life wasn't just hard for me. If it's hard for me, it's going to be hard for other women.
But you have moved on, and thank God for the strength you have and the community around you. You are a strong resilient woman. And thank you for speaking out, sharing your stories with others so they can also gain strength from your story, that although this person set out to destroy you, you are standing and you can still share your story. So thank you for doing that.
You're welcome. It's good to know that if you sit in silence, you will hurt in silence. So a lot of people try to tell you, don't say anything out loud, it's personal, don't hang out your dirty laundry, but then you're dying internally. And I was dying for years internally, and it's just not worth it. So I'm thankful for the people who stood by me. Even some of his friends, they eventually did come clean and tell me the truth, and they supported me through these times. And I am thankful for people who genuinely were like, you know what, this sham that he's doing isn't worth this girl's life. And if it wasn't for some certain people, maybe I wouldn't still be here. So don't kill yourself in silence over anybody.
Over anybody. And with all the pain that you've gone through, you are channeling all of this into a purpose. You're raising children that are not your own. Tell us about that.
Yeah, there's just I just want to be able to provide a home for them. So that's basically why I do that.
So you take kids in and you take care of them.
Yeah, I just
give them hope.
Everybody needs hope.
Everybody needs hope.
And I had a family take me in when I was little. That helped me, and I feel like it's worth it to do that back, because if not for them, maybe I won't be here also. So I have to remember that, and I'm able to provide for other kids, so I should do that. So that's why I do it. And honestly, it's the biggest blessing, knowing that children look to you as a mom, especially that you didn't even make them, and they rely on you like a mom, and they need your support and love. It's honestly, it's amazing, and I wouldn't change it for the world.
Wow. You have such a big, generous, kind heart. If there was any woman out there who's experiencing what you have experienced out there right now and wondering, should I go to Nigeria? Should I go and meet him? What would you say to them?
I would tell them that you can't base my situation on yours. Like, everyone has a different situation, and I believe that there is genuine good people everywhere. I don't want to make it look like if you're going to Nigeria, it's automatic blacklisted. But I would say definitely listen to your intuition, listen to your heart, and really pay attention to your brain, because those things don't always coexist together. Your heart is like, go, 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 and your brain is like, So it's important to really, and put yourself first. Everyone says, like, put your love first. When you have a husband, put him first, put the family first. But you know what? If you stay in an unhealthy marriage, again, you're going to be dying and hurting internally. So I don't really believe in, I understand you made vows, but it's not worth your life.
It's not worth your life.
So it's important to remember that you as a person are a whole person before you entered this marriage. And that person shouldn't define you. And if you leave, that marriage won't define you. I thought my life would be over at 27 years old when he left. I thought, this is the end because I'm so young and no one will ever care about me again and I'll be alone forever. But it's not the case. I was a person first, and I'm still a person now.
I'm still a person. No.
So just for those girls, just to be careful. And think twice, think 3 times even.
The heart is not so smart. I think it's a song.
Yeah. No.
You know, I introduced you as Colleen Santos Amalu. Amalu being the last name of this individual.
Yeah.
So are you still legally together if he comes back? You've not dropped this last name. So if he comes back and he says, you know, the wool has been pulled over my eyes, I'm so sorry, I'm in love with you, what would you say?
No, I would never go back. I don't think I could even look at him. If I was to see him, like, I've never seen him physically, but I don't think I would be able to face him. Looking at him would just remind me of how much torture I went through. So I would never even consider giving that a chance. Like, our marriage is dead and gone. But legally, yeah, I am separated in Canada, but we have not done an official, like, separation divorce. But Yeah, no, I would never give that another go. I know that he's not a good person, and there's nothing that he could tell me that would ever convince me otherwise. And I've learned that, like I said, my life is now better off without him, and so to reopen those wounds is not worth it. Once a survivor, always a survivor, but don't go back to who pushed you to that point, right? So,
Wow.
yeah.
So any last words before we go?
No, but thank you for having me, and I hope that my story can shed some light on some people. And I mean, you watch 90 Days Fiancé, you see it happen all the time, so I'm not the first. But if that can help one girl, just know that she's worth it on her own. I think that that's good enough.
That's good enough. And on that note, we're going to wrap it there. Colleen has said it all. I have nothing else to add. One thing I want to say from what she said, remember that you're a person first. Think of yourself. Nothing else is worth it. Not an abusive marriage. Just at the risk of your own life. So until next time, take good care of yourself. Really take good care of yourself. God bless you, and I'll catch you later. Bye now.